Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're talking about fear of change and an exciting midlife career transition. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle, where we are all about how to get unstuck, clear, and excited about your next chapter, especially if you're in your 50s and 60s and feeling like life is way too short to keep waiting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again. And I have to say, you are the first person I am talking to today. It's early in the morning. I was very motivated to work on this episode, and I had my coffee and I have my water, and I think I'm ready to go. Now, if you are new here, thanks so much for popping in. It is always a great time, I would say a perfect time, to think about what being a woman in the middle means to you, and more importantly, what you want it to mean to you. It's such an opportunity for you to be intentional about your life, always. Anytime you can get some clarity, it's a very good thing. As I mentioned, today's episode is about managing fear of change. I have a feeling you may have experienced that, or you're just beginning to. When you think about change, it can be really scary. So my guest is Darlene Malaney, and I originally interviewed her in episode 123 on my sister podcast, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs. But I also wanted to share this episode here on the Women in the Middle show, Loving Life After 50, because Darlene was also a client in the Women in the Middle Academy. And she shares her journey to clarity with such detail and such authenticity that I knew it would really be meaningful for you. And she also talks about her experience with decision making. I'm just so fascinated with that, so I ask a lot of questions. But she describes her decision making path in a way that I know that you'll get a lot from. Okay, now let me tell you a little bit more about my guest, Darlene. She is currently enjoying her next chapter and living her best life as an entrepreneur and proud mom in an interior design business with her daughter. She retired as a finance professional to pursue this dream. That's what her midlife transition was all about, the way she makes her professional contribution in the world. Now, on the outside, Darlene's professional life looked amazing. She had risen to the top position in her field, achieved national accolades, had financial security, and appeared to be at the top of her game. The only problem was she did not feel that way on the inside. Listening to the Women in the Middle podcast led Darlene to appreciate and accept that she was no longer content working in finance. She knew there was a problem. She just didn't know what to do about it, but she had a feeling there was a problem, and there was kind of like this disconnect, and she was absolutely feeling a lot of stress. So Darlene reached out to join the Women in the Middle Academy. Working together in the academy gave her the courage to set a date and quit her job. She describes it as taking a leap of faith. She announced she was taking a planned career break to embark on a midlife reset and refresh, and knew that she never wanted to work for someone again. That decision changed everything for her. 3 years later, Darlene is the co-founder and CEO of Dana Sterling Interiors, a luxury residential design firm based in South Florida with studios in Palm Beach and Naples. On today's show, Darlene describes her journey and shares how her love of learning and growing is helping her to become the very best version of herself. So please enjoy this authentic and inspiring interview. Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Susie Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about finally having courage to quit a 25-year job without a solid plan for what was next. Today, you're going to be meeting Darlene Malaney, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's managed her fear of change and is now living a lifelong dream of being in business with her daughter running an interior design studio together. How fabulous is that? Welcome to the show, Darlene. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Susie. I'm so excited to be back with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you again and hear all this good stuff. So today we're going to be having a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business and what's going really well. Also, what midlife issues might be getting in your way to some extent, a little here, a little there, and might be challenging for you in your life as well as being a business owner. So let's get started with how old you are, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and what it is that you do in the world. Take it away.
Okay. I am 58 years old recently. And yes, I'm getting used to saying that.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I've been in business for 3 years. I left. I jumped off with the courage that you helped me find on my 55th birthday 3 years ago. So
Wow.
I've been in business for I haven't been in business for 3 years, but I left my job 3 years ago. And I've been in business with my daughter about 2.5 years.
Amazing. And we know each other from being in the Women in the Middle Academy. You were an early client in that program because we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary. So you may have been in the first cohort, the first or second cohort, something like that right away. And boy, were things different back then. You were so stressed and so your just life was in such a different situation. And you certainly weren't thinking about being an entrepreneur.
That is really true. I had similar to you. I think that you found courage when I heard your story because you were kind of forced into finding it with a career change that was a change that you may not have anticipated making on your own. And that's what happened to me about 6 months before I made the call to you. So I had been in a in a career-long career of finance and in the government space. And I was in the executive leadership. And when you have elected officials coming in and out, when a new elected official comes in, oftentimes they bring in their own team. And that had happened to me recently. And it was a very stressful to this day when I think about it. And I just kept going. I said, you know what? I'm gonna keep going when I found this out. And I was very blessed that another elected official in another city created a job for me. And I looked great on paper. I had, all the experience and all the degrees, and I had been very involved in networking and president of this and president of that. So I took this new job in a new city, and I quickly found out that it wasn't working for me. I was going through the motions every day, and I would walk into my job every day. I had a great position. I had a great salary. I had great benefits, but there was something missing. And where we moved, we kept our house in Palm Beach, but we also moved it to Naples. And both of these places are very seasonal places where people come during the winter to, retired people to spend time and enjoy all the beautiful things we have to offer here. So I was going to my new job in Naples every day in a beautiful golf course community. And I was the only one leaving on my street, dressed with lipstick on. And here's people walking their dogs and going to play pickleball and going to play tennis and riding their bikes. And I did that every day for about 6 months. And I thought, there has to be more. I'm going the wrong direction here. And another layer to this story is that my husband and I have a pretty good age difference. He's 17 years older than me, and he had been self-employed for the majority of his career. And he was really starting, even though he's that much older than me, he was finally starting to slow down. And so he had a lot more time on his hands. And so I was around a lot of people that were retired and having fun. And I was going to this job that, as grateful as I was for it, truly I was overqualified and I was bored. And I was sitting there every day going, what am I doing here? I vividly remember making that walk every single day. And I spent a good amount of time by myself in my new place in Naples. And, a woman with a lot of time on her hands can be a dangerous thing because we start thinking a lot. We have time to think. We slow down. can be a good thing too, which ultimately it turned out to be. Um, so I had a lot of time to myself to think. And that's when I discovered your podcast. And honestly, I had never even listened to podcasts before. I
Oh,
know they've
wow.
been out there for a long time, but I started Googling, and your catchphrase, do you feel stuck? Are you a woman in the middle? Do you just feel like something's missing? I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And I started listening and I found out about your program and I made the call. And I remember very vividly leaving my job. I think I was on my lunch hour, or maybe I left early that day. And I was sitting in a parking lot and I was crying. I was talking to you. I was trying to tell you what was going on in my life and I couldn't even get through it. I was terrified. Like, what do I do at this stage? I was not happy and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I needed to make a change.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where going through your program and listening to other women and feeling like I'm not alone in here.
Isn't that so important when you think you're alone and you're not? You have no idea that so many women our age are experiencing that, like that whisper that there's more, you do need a change. And the fear just bubbles up all over the place.
And I felt guilty because I had such a great job
Yeah.
and I had been given this opportunity where a position was actually created for me. And they were wonderful people. And my husband and I had a plan. We had this financial plan of I'm going to work till this age, and you're going to work till this age, and this is what the plan's going to be. Well, I didn't want to do that plan anymore. And I was very afraid to talk to him about it, even though we have a wonderful marriage and he's been so supportive of every career change. We actually moved to South Florida for my job because he's self-employed and he can work from wherever. And actually we've made several moves because of my job. So he's always been super supportive of my career. But it was scary because I worked for government. We weren't going out of business. I had great benefits. And in my family, you always did the safe thing, right?
Absolutely.
Always do the safe thing.
And you know what, Darlene? The thing I couldn't get out of my mind when I also had a good job, there was nothing wrong with it on paper, and I loved it for so many of the years I was there until I didn't feel content anymore, not because there was anything wrong with the job, but because I'd been there too long, or I just wasn't challenged anymore. I needed a change. It wasn't novel, and it felt too indulgent to leave when I didn't have a guarantee, as if there are any guarantees in life. But some job moves, some pivots seem safer than others. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I did not have enough nerve to give up the dental benefits. That's what I kept thinking. I had 3 kids. How many of them are going to need braces? Oh my God. But I'd been there for so long. For me, it was 19 years in that job, 27 years in the same kind of career. And I knew I needed a change. It got to the point where the whisper became much louder, but I still didn't have any clarity about what I should do. And then I got laid off. I didn't have to walk in there and say, I'm finished. So what was it about the work we did together that helped you be able to get clarity on that decision?
A lot of it was the community and listening to other women and feeling like if they can do it, I can do it. Going through the exercises of I remember vividly you saying, because I knew I was too young to not work again. I knew I wanted to keep doing something, but I didn't know what it is. I just knew I was so unhappy. And I was contemplating everything from a Starbucks barista to, who knows what. But I remember you saying, be curious. Be curious. Think about, what did you like to do when you were a kid? What did you always like to do, but you thought you couldn't do that and make a living at it? And I really started exploring, like, who am I? Because my kids are grown. And honestly, what happened with me with being asked to leave the position that I had, I realized that my identity was my title. My identity was chief financial officer. My identity was mom. My identity was wife. Like, where is that Darlene that used to be there and used to have fun? I hadn't seen her in a long time. And it was very scary and eye-opening and humbling to detach myself from that title. It doesn't matter how many certifications you have after your name or what your resume looks like. And today, when people ask me, that's all I say. I retired early from a career. I don't have any of my credentials of my past life on my new website. I'm who I am today. But it was a process. It was a very, very difficult process to go through. So with your help, I found the courage to start thinking, okay, maybe I can do this. And I knew I needed to talk to my husband about it. And that was the scariest thing. And I don't know why, but when I did talk to him about it, he said, Darlene, I just want you to be happy. He said, I want to see the old Darlene, and I haven't seen her in a long time. I can tell that you're unhappy. I can tell that you're stressed. And so I'm crying through this whole thing. And then I'm crying because I'm like, oh my God, he's such a wonderful husband. He's so supportive. And then I'm like, oh gosh, now I really got to do it. So I thought of a date. Honestly, I'm like, I wanted to give my employer ample time, and I wanted to set myself up for financially, like, what am I going to do, even though it was a short period of time. And I set the date on my 55th birthday 3 years ago on July 5th is my birthday. Actually, July 8th was my last day. And I never looked back. And when I went to tell my employer that I was leaving, they thought, is she sick? Is her husband sick? What's wrong? And I just said, I'm going to do something different. I put it out there on on LinkedIn and on my personal social media that I'm taking a planned career break. I'm calling it a midlife refresh and reset. And I'm going to take time for me. I wanted to take time to spend with my husband. I think COVID gave us all a lot of clarity and perspective. And during COVID, we all started to think about what's really important in life. And with a husband that's 17 years older than me, a lot of the things that we said one day, we're going to do this. I said, no. Someday is today. And we're going to start doing some of those things. So I took about 6 months to travel and just really see friends and do some things that we wanted to do together, all the while knowing I'm not just going to stay home. I need to find something else to do. And
so just by knowing that, it opens you up, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's like just by knowing, like, it's okay not to know what I'm going to do. I'm curious now. So that means that you listen differently and you see things differently and you start to imagine yourself being this or establishing that. Like, things just start to subtly shift.
Yes, exactly. And the pressure, you want to know something. I mean, you always hear that stress is a physical thing. I mean, obviously it's mental and emotional, but I had chronic neck pain for over a decade. And I had gone to I had all different kinds of treatments. I had recently gone to a doctor and I was contemplating having a surgery before I didn't have benefits. And they wanted to do disc replacement. They wanted to cut into my neck and put a new disc in there. And I just have so much fear over medical procedures. I'm like, no. When I left my job, this is no lie, I have been pain free. And it took me a while to realize that. I'm like, oh my God, that pain in my neck is gone. And it was stress. It was years and years and years of stress.
Right.
The further you go up, you're not really doing what you really loved anymore. You're managing people. Mm-hmm. You're always in HR. It's a different world. And so, yes, I did. When you see people that look retired, like, oh, they look so happy. Well, that's because they don't have all that stress anymore. So even though I had stress of not knowing what was around the corner, I had the foundation of my husband supporting me. I had the foundation of my family, even though they probably thought, what is she doing? She gave up all those good benefits. Um, but I've always had a wonderful support system around me. And so I didn't worry. My faith is very strong. That was a very big part of my journey, honestly. Couldn't do it every single day without that.
Mm.
And so I took a leap of faith, and I believed in myself. And I can remember vividly that morning routine that I had every day of like being my own cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
had
it. That's
sticky
it.
notes on up on my mirror in the bathroom saying, you could do this, Darlene. I truly was my own cheerleader every day,
I
and it was
love that.
scary.
You learned how to take care of yourself. And one of the things that comes up all the time in coaching with women our age is that a lot of times we don't get enough new data. We're stuck in a situation and we just don't, or we're not able to get new data, meet new people, watch new things, experience, talk to retired people, ask people questions who you see on Facebook who are retiring. Like we just don't get new data. And what I'm seeing that happened is that you, not only did you trust yourself, but also you had an opportunity to see what a retired community looks like. And seeing that helped you ask new questions. In my community, the Women in the Middle Academy, you had a chance to see other women who were scared and courageous and started to have ideas about what was possible for them. You watched them give notice and you watched them take baby steps toward their dreams, also with no guarantee. So now you had some new data points to reflect on. And then when you have new data points, you can kind of start to see, oh, I like that or I don't like that, or oh, that's really interesting. Let me learn more about that, or oh, that's not for me. I'm so glad you are happy with that, but that's nothing I want. So you start to maybe feel envious or curious or motivated by something that you're seeing that you never gave the time of day to before, like zero. And now you have a beat where you can just ask questions about it, maybe even try something out. Just allow your mind to go there. And I think by seeing all those people in all those different situations, the other women in transition and the people who were a little ahead of you in retirement, I think that gave you so much great stuff to think about.
It really did. I knew I didn't want to work for someone else anymore. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Didn't know what it was going to be. I really considered coaching seriously. Um, I think that was a big part of, when you're in leadership in business, you are a coach. And I got so much fulfillment out of helping people to blossom. I never felt angry or any negative feelings whenever anyone who worked for me moved on to something better. Because good for them. That's how they grow. And I really got personal satisfaction out of that, especially women. But I realized I want to do something completely different. I don't want to have anything to do with anything that I'm doing, that I was doing. And even I knew I wanted to get more involved in my community. That was important to me. And as I began to get involved, I couldn't help myself. I had to get on committees, I had to get involved. But I said, I don't want to be on the finance committee. I don't want to be, on the grant committee. I want to do the fun stuff. I want to be on the events committee. I just wanted to do something completely different.
Right.
And that's what ultimately led me to going into business with my daughter.
So how did that happen? Was it the idea of going into business together, or was it the idea of interior design that kind of initiated that movement? Both? It was both things?
It was both. So I'm very blessed to have a very close relationship with both my children and my daughter. They both live near us locally. And my daughter had been an interior designer for her whole career, which was about 10 years at that point. Had been in the right place at the right time, working with amazing people and very well-known people in South Florida. The interior design business is good. And I always was envious of her. What a fabulous job. You get to spend other people's money and make things beautiful. And we had always talked about how fun it would be to go into business together.
Wow.
Not knowing exactly what that would be. And I remember again very vividly, we were driving down the street here, near our house on the way to lunch or the mall or something. And it just popped into my head. I said, let's go into business together. And she looked at me like, oh my God, are you serious? And of course, she had her own fears because was with a very established firm. She's a lot younger. She's 36 today. So she was only 34 then, 33. And it was really scary to her. So we talked about it, and she gave herself my time while I was having fun with my husband visiting people. We had made the decision that we were going to try this, and it gave her time to get ready mentally. And a big part of her compensation package is year-end bonuses, and really for her to kind of look at things from a different point of view while she was at that firm. Instead of just the design side, she started looking at the business side a little bit more because she's a creative. We're so different, alike in a lot of ways. I feel like I have a creative spirit, which I always was drawn to when I was younger. I like decorating my room. I love going to look at houses. And I think back, I loved all the things that are part of the interior design world. But she had been in a very different position, and she was an assistant designer. She wasn't the face out front. She loves the design part. She doesn't so much love the business part. She doesn't so much love the networking part. And I said, we're going to complement each other great.
Wow.
We have great synergy. So we jumped off, and with the support of our friends and our family, and we do complement each other well. I'm learning from her. She's learning from me. And oh, how we have grown over the last 3 years. Me last 3 years, Dana for the last 2.5 years. And it's been a journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think I'm so blessed. And I have so many people who tell me, I wish I had that kind of relationship with my daughter. How wonderful it is you can work together. The husband tries to get in the mix. He's like, I can do this and I can do that. So it truly is a family affair. And
it's so exciting. Like, it's not just the interior design and the transition and transformation, but it's also working with your daughter. I mean, that is such a beautiful part of your story. So let's talk a little bit now about what challenges that you have, midlife related challenges, to being a very busy entrepreneur at the early stages of a new business.
Oh, the list is long. From a business perspective, having been in a career for 25 years, you take for granted how easy things are for you because that's what you've always done. Just your knowledge base.
Yeah.
And technology. Having worked for an organization that had a huge IT team
Isn't that crazy?
That had resources,
Right.
I had an assistant, I had this whole world around me that allowed me to do my job. And I knew just a little bit about each one of those specialties. But when you're an entrepreneur, you wear all the hats, as you know. And I wasn't afraid of that, but I feel like it was challenging for me because I feel like I'm walking in quicksand sometimes. I'm used to being able to get things done in my old world, and now it just takes me longer. And that frustrates me because I want to know everything right now. But thank goodness that I did this at this stage of the world because we have YouTubes on everything.
Everything.
Right? And you can Google for whatever you need. So, but it just takes me longer to get things done. So that was a challenge. And to this day, I am challenged with technology, but I surprise myself, and it feels good when you post something that you created yourself on Canva. I'm like, oh, look at me getting out there. But I also know from being in business that you don't have to be, an expert at everything. You focus on what you're good at. And if you can outsource what you're not good at, or you don't have time to do. as a brand new entrepreneur, you may not have the luxury to do that. I don't have the luxury to do all of that now, but I've got my things lined up as soon as I can afford to outsource, social media. But because that's such a big part of what we do in today's world, and especially in design,
Mm.
Instagram is where everyone is. It was frustrating because as a new firm, we didn't have our own content. Dana had worked for other firms and had worked on amazing projects and done beautiful things, but that work was not her own. It was under
Right.
other people. So as we got clients and we took on a new job and we make their space beautiful, that takes a long time to come up with the design, to order the furniture, to get it delivered, to have it installed, and then to have it professionally photographed. So it took us, we just got our website up earlier this year. So we were in business for a full year before a little bit over a year, not right at a year, before we could get our website out there.
Mm-hmm.
I take that back. It was 2 years. It was 2 years. So that was frustrating because in order to get out there and market who we are, I needed content. And in our world, it was frustrating, but I've learned along the way what to do, what not to do. And so that learning marketing, I guess that's, to
learning
wrap a bow
marketing.
around it. It's a nonstop thing.
Yeah, dealing with tech, all that stuff. And what about stuff that affects you personally? I've heard some women talking about energy, menopause related stuff, even grandparenting, and just watching what your other friends and family might be doing at this age. Do any of those things come up for you?
All of the above. And I am proud to say that I am a new Gigi, and she's local. That's my son's daughter. So it's been wonderful. But, I have friends, very good friend of mine, my best friend, who retired from the same job that we both kind of were, asked to leave at the same time. And she's a full-time grandmother to 3 grandchildren, which is a lot. And so there's guilt associated with that. For sure. I want to be there and do things. And it's also exhausting. Getting off of the floor with an infant at 58 is quite different. I had my children very young. And so just physically, there's challenges there. And yes.
It's so funny you mentioned that, Darlene, because recently we spent some time with somebody with a baby, and I was so tired when they left, and I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. And you realize, as wonderful as it is, you don't get anything done when you're keeping a baby.
That's right.
They require all of your attention, as they should. But rocking a baby to sleep, I'm like, oh my goodness, my back is hurting. So there's that from the grandmother perspective. And yes, menopause for sure. Just not having the energy that I had, and 58, even though I feel really young, is not 48. It's not 38, but it's still a great age to be. So I think that, from that perspective, yes, definitely being a grandmother, and definitely having friends that are retired, and having a husband who's this much older than me has never, ever, ever been an issue. But now as all of our friends are retired, my friends are starting to retire. All of his friends have been retired, and they're traveling, and they're going and they're doing these things that I want to be doing, but I can't be in 2 places at once, especially as we're gearing up a brand new business. I look forward to being able to take more time in the future, but right now I can't afford to do that. So I can do short little trips, but that 3-week trip around Europe is not happening for me right now.
Right.
And this time of year, I feel like every time we open Facebook or we're looking at, talking to a friend, oh, they just got back from Spain. Oh, they're about to go to Ireland. And I'm hearing about all these trips, and my husband loves to travel. So there's guilt associated with that for me. But I know that if I retired today and didn't do anything else, I would not be fulfilling my dreams.
Yeah.
And as scary as it is, and there's been some days that I'm like, I could quit, right? I don't have to keep doing this. But the wonder of what it can be is what keeps me going.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you're having so much fun. Fun
It's
at work. Uh, Fun at work is, oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm on these interviews or I'm just having an amazing coaching session. I get off the interview or the call and I just feel so fulfilled and happy that I'm in my zone and I'm able to contribute, I'm able to help people, and I'm able to have fun. It's such a it's such a blessing, and it's just I'm so proud of myself that I've been able to create it for myself and for others. And that's what you've done. You've really created it. Now, another question I did want to ask you is about um, the way your age, anything you've noticed about your age and stage affecting being an entrepreneur. I know in your notes you mentioned business networking groups and how there's more younger people. What's that like?
I have to say that, and I can really see the difference when we walk into a room, my daughter and I, and doing what we do, where we're doing it. Networking events are pretty fancy affairs.
Hmm,
We're walking in for people. Interior design is a luxury service.
right.
We are attending events with the who's who of society, and that can be very intimidating to some people, especially younger people. So I look at my daughter and I see so much of me when I was her age, and I talk a lot now and I sound very outgoing, but I was very introverted and very shy when I was younger. And my career pushed me. I pushed myself too. But it helped me become who I am today with public speaking and just, you have the confidence at
Mhm.
58 that she does not have at 36. And I did not have it at 36 either.
Right.
And so for me, that's definitely a positive. When I walk into a room, there may be people there that have been doing I'm brand new to this world. There is, for sure. We all have imposter syndrome. Who am I to go up against a designer who's been doing this in Palm Beach for 25 years? But at the end of the day, I feel like there's enough business to go around for everyone. I don't have to compete with anyone. And I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else there does. You know,
Love it.
I
Yeah.
don't feel intimidated by people. I really try to learn and ask questions. And I think sometimes jealousy, of other people is kind of a good thing. It helps you see it's because you want to be that. And it
Oh,
helps me
I
think, what are
love,
they doing every day
yes.
to
I
do
love
what you're
thinking,
doing? And that's why I look at social media all the time. I'm like, what are they
yeah.
doing? That's how I'm learning.
Yes, absolutely. And I love noticing when you're envious of something because it shows you what you want.
Yes,
And if you don't have the clarity on your own, that opportunity to respond to something else, if you can notice what's going on for you, it can be such a great growth opportunity and
absolutely.
insight to clarity for sure. So, how can people find you? Where can we find you? Do we have to
Well,
walk into the store, or what else is there?
we don't have a storefront. Um, But we are online at danasterling.com. It's Dana with a Y, Ayna, sterling.com. And we are on Instagram. I've learned Instagram is really the place for creatives. And we do a lot of posts on there. It's Dana Sterling Interiors, and Facebook at Dana Sterling Interiors. And yep, that's where we are. So we're finally got all of our branding done, and I've learned the importance of pouring money back into the business. And if we want to play in the big leagues, you got to look like you're a big leaguer, and how expensive all those things are. So now that we have all of that content available, really, it's been in the last few months that I'm really finally getting out there to market. And we had been networking before, but we're really in a different place and have more confidence behind us because the experience that we have is showing up in a professional way in the content that we're putting out there.
That's great. And what would you say you want next in your business, for you or for the business? What do you want next?
You know, I would like to be able to take that 3-week trip with my husband to Europe.
Yeah.
And we will probably do a pretty big trip next year. For me to have a little bit more flexibility. We've really been working on templates to our process so that the
Mm,
experience we have good, just systems in place to help us do what we do better. And
so
that
good.
process has been happening over the last 3 years. We've tweaked things a million times. And, I think you always are tweaking things. You get feedback from your clients, you learn from other people, and to be a lifelong learner. But I
Definitely.
would love to be able to outsource a couple of the things that I do for myself personally now, because I do have a finance background. I'm the one doing all of the books. I'm the one doing the marketing. My daughter does some of it, but she's the creative. I say she's the beauty, I'm the business, you know? And, um, and so I would like to be able to transition and outsource some of those things so that I can be more on the design side, which I
Mhm.
love and I'm learning so much about. So that's really what I'm looking to be able to do, is to be able to outsource certain pieces of the business to allow us to do the design more full time. And I see us bringing on additional staff members in the not so distant future. And so putting those things in place and creating an environment that people want to come to work in and want to stay at, and helping people grow. I get so much joy out of that. And really building a business that I can, and it sounds kind of corny, but a legacy that I can leave for my daughter, for my granddaughter. And that's important to me, to be able to give back and to bring people in that will be part of our family, our Dana
Oh,
Sterling Interiors family.
I love that. I love that so much. Darlene, this was amazing. It was so great to talk to you again and to see the impact of the coaching and the way you put yourself first back then to be able to grow forward. It's so rewarding for me and fulfilling to see how far you've come and how you've gone after your dreams and dealt with some of your fears. Like, so good. I am beside myself with joy right now. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing all of this and taking the time to really think about your growth and what you've accomplished. It's so good.
I think it's important to remember that for ourselves. We're so busy thinking, what didn't I do today? But to remember, what did I get done today? And when I look back, I am proud of myself. And and you've been part of that journey. And I
Yeah.
think when you work for yourself, it's easy to, that's one of the other things, missing that network of women
Yeah,
and having what you offer and the availability to FaceTime these days and to stay connected is so important. And so I encourage everyone to do just that, to stay connected, be a lifetime learner, and reach out to your fellow women and, commiserate, support each other, lift each other up.
exactly. Wow. Thank you so much. Love your story. Love your design. Even what you have on today is stunning. You're so stylish. I totally love what you're doing and you really are amazing. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Susie. It has been a pleasure.
All right, that's it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It is never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Susie Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick, before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon. Okay, that's it for this episode. I hope you loved meeting my guest, Darlene. You know, when we were working together in the academy, she was in it. And as her coach, it was so exciting for me to provide a roadmap that helped her navigate her exciting and scary journey forward. Darlene makes it clear it wasn't easy, but it was doable. One thought, one step at a time. I loved how authentically she described different elements of her transition experience, the frustration and the overwhelm, and also the excitement. The courage it took to leave with some uncertainty, that was something, right? Her thoughts about changing some of her next chapter plans with her husband, that was relevant, and how she gradually became more comfortable entertaining what was really possible with interior design and the potential of working with her daughter. Very real mindset work, very real steps. Very real action and next chapter dreaming and scheming too. Now she's living her lifelong dream of being in business with her daughter and running an interior design studio together. How exciting. When you think about what you really want in your life, don't be surprised if some of it scares you. A little or a lot. Change is funny like that. It makes sense though. You're contemplating starting something new. And in midlife, you may not have been putting yourself in a lot of novel situations lately, right? We've been around a while. We've been doing things a long time. It makes sense that it can feel scary. As you start to notice what you're actually thinking and feeling, also practice just allowing yourself to stay there in that emotional space without scurrying away, without squishing everything down so fast just because it's uncomfortable. This is the beginning of you allowing yourself to be happy. It really is. It starts with awareness like this. Now, if you would like support and want to have some fun as you navigate this important transition phase of your life, please reach out and let's talk about coaching together. As a master certified life coach and midlife mentor, I offer coaching that is uniquely relevant to women our age, in our 50s and 60s. And I have been working with women like you now for over 10 years. I have several options that might be a good fit for you, especially the Women in the Middle Academy. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and finding your passion and purpose is something your future self will absolutely be grateful for. So head over to www.talktosusie.com. Thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. Please remember to share it with your friends and other midlife gals you know would get a lot out of it too. My focus as your regret-proofing midlife coach is to help you get unstuck and get on with the good stuff. Being the queen of your brain domain, that's the best way to be. It's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. I want to make sure that you know about my new midlife quiz that is waiting for you. If you want to discover what's been keeping you stuck and learn what your future self is craving, head over to www.midlifequiz.com. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 443. And you'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.